Max Verstappen just did something that could change Formula One completely in the middle of freezing temperatures, hail, crashes, and total chaos at the Nürburgring. Verstappen jumped into a Mercedes GT3 car and immediately qualified third against some of the best endurance drivers in the world. But that is not why the paddock exploded, because while this was happening, Toto Wolff flew directly to the Nürburgring to watch him, and suddenly, one terrifying question started spreading through the entire Formula One world. What if Mercedes is no longer imagining Verstappen as their future, and they are already building around him? This was not a normal qualifying session. A Porsche burst into flames during the session. Drivers were fighting snow and hail in May. The track became so dangerous that multiple laps were destroyed by yellow flags and slow zone. And somehow, Verstappen still delivered one of the fastest laps of the day. An 8-minute 18 around the green hell on a partially wet track against elite GT specialists. That should not happen this quickly, especially because this is not Formula One. The Nürburgring is different. One mistake here does not ruin a corner. It ruins your entire weekend. And now, with more than 300,000 fans expected at the circuit, race officials are reportedly already taking special measures because the Verstappen frenzy is becoming impossible to control. But here's the part almost nobody is talking about yet. The most important qualifying session has not even happened. And if Verstappen delivers one perfect lap tomorrow in full attack mode, this story could become far bigger than endurance racing. Nobody expected Max Verstappen to look this comfortable, this fast, this dangerous, this early, because the moment he arrived at the Nürburgring, the entire atmosphere around the event changed. Not just because he is a four-time Formula One world champion, but because the Nürburgring is one of the few places in motorsport that does not care who you are. World champions have come here before and looked completely lost. This track humiliates people. The Nordschleife is more than 25 kilometers long. It cuts through forests, blind corners, steep hills, bumps, fog, cold air, and sections where drivers barely see what is coming next. Imagine driving flat out down a mountain road in the middle of a storm, except there are race cars everywhere around you, and one tiny mistake sends you into a barrier at terrifying speed. That is the green hell, and Verstappen walked directly into it without hesitation. The conditions were already brutal before qualifying even began. The temperature dropped to around 8 degrees Celsius. Parts of the track were wet. Other sections were drying. Grip changed corner by corner. For drivers, that is a nightmare because the car never feels predictable. One corner gives you confidence. The next corner takes it away instantly. And then something happened that perfectly explains how chaotic this session really was. A Porsche caught fire in one of the fastest sections of the track. Another car slammed into it moments later. Yellow flags appeared everywhere. Slow zones interrupted fast laps. Drivers could not complete clean runs consistently. The Nürburgring was already becoming survival mode, but Verstappen's approach never changed. And this is where things started getting interesting. He was the first driver from the Verstappen racing team to head onto the circuit. That decision matters more than people realize. Usually drivers prefer waiting for better grip, more information, safer conditions. Verstappen wanted none of that. He wanted the track immediately. That tells you he came here with confidence already built inside the team. And at first, the lap times looked normal. Careful, controlled, measured. Then suddenly the real Verstappen appeared. After an early installation lap in the 8-minute 47 range, he unleashed an 8-minute 18.539. That lap instantly launched the Mercedes into the fight near the top. Now, here's what makes that terrifying for the rest of the field. Most GT drivers spend years learning how to survive the Nordschleife properly. The circuit has more than 170 corners depending on configuration. Many of them look nearly identical. Some corners tighten unexpectedly. Others open late. Some punish you. That should concern everybody because this is not some celebrity cameo appearance anymore. This is competitive, very competitive. And the paddock started realizing it at exactly the same time, especially Mercedes. Because while Verstappen was putting together those laps in brutal conditions, reports confirmed Toto Wolff was traveling to the Nürburgring to watch the session unfold. And suddenly the entire story became bigger than endurance racing itself. And Toto Wolff understood exactly how powerful that image could become. Think about it carefully. For years, Wolff publicly chased the idea of bringing Verstappen to Mercedes. Most people treated it like fantasy. Too expensive, too complicated, too impossible. But now the cameras are capturing something different. Not negotiations, not rumors, reality. Verstappen wearing Mercedes colors. Verstappen delivering results. Verstappen naturally fitting into the Mercedes environment. That changes how people emotionally process the idea. And in Formula One, emotion matters more than fans realize. Because once something starts feeling possible, the pressure around the sport changes immediately. But here's the deeper layer nobody can ignore anymore. Verstappen does not look burned out. He looks energized. That is critical, especially after years of non-stop Formula One pressure, political drama, sprint weekends, media obligations, simulator work, and championship expectations. Most drivers eventually look exhausted by the machine surrounding modern Formula One. Verstappen looks like he is escaping into something he genuinely loves again, and you can hear it in the way endurance racing people talk about him this weekend. There is respect, but there is also surprise because many expected speed. What they did not expect was how quickly he understood the rhythm of endurance racing itself. That rhythm is completely different from Formula One. Formula One is constant aggression, qualifying laps, tiny margins, explosive tire windows. Endurance racing is psychological endurance. Drivers manage traffic constantly. They protect the car over hours. They survive changing weather. They adapt to day becoming night, then night becoming morning again. One small mistake can destroy 20 hours of work, and somehow Verstappen already looks emotionally comfortable inside that environment. That should terrify competitors, because if a driver with Formula One level qualifying speed suddenly learns endurance discipline too, you create something extremely dangerous. And this is where Friday becomes enormous, because Thursday's result was only the beginning. The real fight comes during top qualifying. One driver, one attack lap, no traffic excuses, no strategy games, pure commitment. And according to expectations inside the paddock, Verstappen could very well be the driver chosen for the decisive qualifying session. Now imagine the pressure attached to that moment. More than 300,000 fans surrounding the Nürburgring, cold air over the forest, cameras following every movement, and a Formula One world champion attempting a full qualifying attack around the most intimidating circuit on Earth in a Mercedes. That is not normal motorsport pressure anymore. That becomes history-level pressure. And maybe the most incredible part is this. Verstappen seems completely relaxed inside it. No emotional overreaction. No panic. No visible strain. Just focus. That calmness matters because the Nürburgring punishes emotional driving immediately. Drivers who push too hard here often become victims of the circuit within minutes. The track waits for impatience, especially in changing temperatures. And the temperature could become the biggest factor of the entire weekend because Thursday's freezing conditions created extremely low grip levels across the circuit. If Friday becomes warmer, everything changes. Tires behave differently. Braking zones improve. Confidence rises. Lap times could suddenly drop dramatically. And that creates a terrifying possibility. What if Verstappen has not even shown the true pace of the Mercedes yet? Because if he already reached the front in terrible conditions, what happens when the track finally comes toward him instead of against him? That is the question slowly spreading across the Nürburgring paddock right now. And honestly, nobody seems comfortable with the answer.